Welcome to 2025. At Shift, we explore the stories behind innovation and entrepreneurship in Alberta. As we kick off the new year, we're focusing on a critical topic, mental health for entrepreneurs. It's a journey filled with highs and lows, and staying mentally resilient is key to success. That's why we're going back into the annals of time and picking out an interview we done with Anthea Sargeaunt from 2S Water at Inventures 2024. Sit back, settle in. Welcome to Shift. Anthea, explain to us your personal journey. Why is mental health a focus for you?
Well, I think mental health is really important for all entrepreneurs. Mental health is a focus for me because of an early experience that I had in my career when I was at a CEO roundtable. And it wasn't a startup CEO roundtable, it was a more established company CEO roundtable. These guys were running big businesses, they had big teams, and I looked up to them so much. And we went around the table and every single one of them had all the problems that I had, but that I thought were temporary because I was in a startup. They were talking about a lack of work-life balance, not seeing their kids enough, grinding into the night. And I realized it wasn't a phase that businesses go through. It's a life choice that people make about how they manage their time and their business, and it wasn't one that I wanted to make.
So how big of a problem do you think this is? Because we typically don't hear about it in the media, on social media. So from your perspective, beyond, say, the CEO roundtable?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we hear enough about it. No, I think entrepreneurial mental health is such a huge problem because people are encouraged to grind. They're encouraged to work lots of hours, to go 110%. There's lots of times in a startup when that's necessary, but if you're doing it all the time, you're going to cause burnout. And it's really important to be a role model to your team as well. So if you're role modeling behavior that's excessive, then your team feels that they have to emulate it as well. Then when those crunch time comes and you really need them to put in, they're not going to have the energy. They're not going to have the willpower anymore. So you burn up your goodwill as well as your own energy in life.
Tell me a little bit about your personal approach then with 2S Water.
So my personal approach with 2S Water is to really make sure that we watch our boundaries. 2S Water is a remote team company. So we have a branch in Edmonton and we have a branch in Victoria. When people are working from home, I find it's especially a problem. One chronic thing that we see at our company is people logging in when they're sick. And they'll say, I'm not feeling very well today, but I'm here at the meeting, and we have to be firm and say, okay, that's great, thank you for tuning in. Turn off your camera and go back to bed. People need to take care of themselves, and if we don't role model that behavior and make it part of our culture, it doesn't happen.
How do you think you may have some CEOs or business leaders who are like, they understand where you're coming from with that, but they're crunched for money or they're pinched for resources, and they don't ask for that, but it's certainly not something they'll say, go back to bed.
Every business is crunched a lot of the time. I mean, that's one of the things that I've learned. And if you don't draw boundaries, then you just burn your people out. There are periods in every startup's life when you need to call on the troops and you all need to get in there and give your 100%. And if you haven't treated people with kindness and if you haven't made sure that they're taking care of themselves first, it's not going to happen.
Now, how do you think mental health and this focus stacks up against other things that entrepreneurs need to think about?
Well, I mean, there's 100 things that entrepreneurs need to think about, absolutely. But mental health is so important because it's the ground basis for everything. If you wake up stressed, sad, burnt out in the morning, you're not putting in a good day's work. You're not producing the kind of quality that you want to. So it's the basis of everything. If you wake up happy and enthusiastic, you do great work, and you end your day on a high note, that's where everyone needs to be. That should be the goal. It should not be grinding through, even though you don't feel like doing it anymore, even though you're too tired or too sad or in an emotional state that doesn't work. Those things need to be addressed.
Now, talk to me a little bit about those pressures that entrepreneurs and their staff will face.
Well, there's a lot of pressures in startups. Cash flow, early stage customers, failures in the field, and struggling to maintain relationships. The that classic expression, startups are shrimps amongst the whales. We're always about to be crushed, right? So it's very stressful. And often it feels like life or death. If your business is on the line and you know that a misstep can mean losing years and years of work, it can be very, very hard. But that's the game we're playing, and you got to enjoy it. You got to enjoy it every day.
How has it evolved, the discussion around mental health? How has it evolved throughout your career?
I don't think we heard a lot about it. When I first started out, there was a really strong focus on grind culture, and I think we've started to see, in general, people moving away from that. A lot more discussion about really living a comfortable life where you are happy every day, where you're not pushing too hard. And if you ask me, I think people are more productive in that state.
And what sort of advice would you give entrepreneurs that are very interested in maintaining their sanity?
Balance and boundaries are the best advice I can give an entrepreneur who is trying to do this. You have to be your own guardian. The world will continue to push you. There will always be work. If you want to stay up till 1 a.m. every night, there's always work to do. But it's still there in the morning if you want to go to bed, and you're going to do it way better.
Now, tell me a little bit about some of those support systems that are available to entrepreneurs to cope with mental health and stress.
I actually think that that's somewhere we could do a lot better as a province. There aren't a lot of resources available to startups or to really anyone on the mental health front that are easily accessible. So I think it's a challenge. I think in Alberta we rely a lot on the network of other entrepreneurs. We're here at Inventures today, and Inventures is always about the community and the startups and how we come together. And for me, that's been a really big support group. But I certainly think as a province and as a country, we could be doing better on mental health. Absolutely.
And what are some of the things that entrepreneurs can recognize, like when that stress is coming on, to nip it in the bud?
I think for me, it's always how I wake up in the morning. If I wake up and I'm happy, then I know everything's okay. And if I wake up and I immediately start feeling that stress, I know that I have to start looking at the load on my plate and how I can get help from my team so that I can balance my life.
Now, let's wrap it up and tell us a little bit about, change speed somewhat, tell us a little bit about 2S Water.
Oh, happily, yes. So 2S Water have developed a sensor which detects metals in water in real time. We're heavy tech, so we're hardware, and we sell to heavy industry. So it's a difficult combination. We were certainly in a challenging space. I'm a huge fan of challenge, though. What's life if you're not doing something difficult?
Well, that's excellent. So when you're talking about heavy metals, are we talking like mercury and things like that, or is it?
So we have 31 different metals that we can detect. Oh. Yeah, a huge suite of metals. So we're primarily focused on kind of two suites of metals. Mm-hmm. One is effluent metals for mining facilities, so making sure that the water coming out of a mine is safe and clean before it goes back into the environment. And the other side is extractive metals, so things like lithium brine, where we have a process that's incredibly taxing on water. And if we can optimize it, we can both increase revenue and reduce water consumption at a mine.
Now, when you're talking about lithium brine, and now I'm going off here, when you're talking about lithium brine, are there partnerships that you have with other companies where they're trying to harvest the lithium, or do you guys do that too?
So we partner with companies. We're lucky that here in Alberta and across Canada, we have some really innovative extractive technologies around lithium, and we are partnered with a couple of those companies moving forward to help them optimize their process so that they can optimize the current extraction in the world. It's a great partnership.
Now, Anthea, any final words about mental health, about 2S, about Inventures?
I think that I always want to encourage people to start a business if they think if they have an idea and they want to do it, I think you should go ahead and start a business. I think when you do it, though, that it's important to make sure that you are living the life that you want to live and not ending up grinding yourself into the ground. Doing a startup can be the most amazing, awesome thing, and it can also be terrible if you do it wrong. So I encourage people to go for it, and I encourage people to do it with forethought and with strategy, and realizing that this is a long haul and that the point of doing a startup is to be having fun.
This is great.
Thanks for joining us today. As always, we can be found at shift.albertainnovates.ca or online at your favorite streaming service. You can also reach us at shift@albertainnovates.ca. On behalf of everyone here, I'm John Hagan. Have a great day. Until next time.